start making enemies as soon as you do that.
Well, absolutely. And I think what's so interesting about whatever Rishi Sunak does is he is going to make enemies. He is determined. From everyone I've spoken to, they say that, unity is the top word for Rishi Sunak. He is determined to get Trussites, Johnsonites, his own loyal supporters into the cabinet. But the truth is there just isn't enough room for all of them. We've had 12 years of Tory government. There are a lot of angry backbenchers, disenfranchised backbenchers who are desperately have had ministerial positions, want them again. Rishi Sunak can't get them all in his cabinet. He's going to have to make some very tough decisions.
Yeah, and interesting that in that speech he paid tribute to Boris Johnson, saying he will always be grateful for his incredible achievements. He will treasure Johnson's warmth and generosity of spirit. But as far as we're aware, Boris Johnson hasn't congratulated Rishi Sunak as yet.
No, it doesn't sound like it. And Boris Johnson's statement when he dropped out, I'm not sure if we can say that when he didn't exactly run, but his statement about not standing was deeply unhelpful to Rishi Sunak. He said that he, Boris Johnson, was in the best place to avoid a general election, suggesting that a general election was inevitable, a snap general election, under Rishi Sunak. And then in the following days, we saw some of the really hardcore Johnsonites, including Christopher Chope, echoing that and suggesting that we need a general election. So I think Boris Johnson is going to be, well, it's not quite sure what he'll do from the backbenchers, but I think we can safely say that he's not going to be a great help to his...
Make money, rival. Maybe. That's one thing we're sure of,
Well,
isn't it?
Boris Johnson and Liz Truss, they'll both be on the backbenchers, and it remains to be seen what sort of function they will provide. Theresa May, a former Prime Minister, a very recent former Prime Minister, diligently sitting there in the Commons, making speeches, raising issues on behalf of her constituency, asking those Prime Minister's questions. We haven't seen so much of Boris Johnson on the backbenchers. He's joined by another former Premier, Liz Truss. What sort of backbencher might she be? Her speech, arguably, was not conceding the mistakes that were made.
No, and I think that's very interesting, actually. As far as I'm aware, this is the first time in history there have been 3 former Prime Ministers sitting on the backbenches, and that's already a bit of a thorn in Rishi Sunak's side. I agree that I think Liz Truss's, when she resigned, her very, very short resignation speech suggested that she did, if not explicitly, at least implicitly understand that everything had gone completely wrong under her very short tenure. But in that speech just now, it felt as though she was speaking up for her principles, for her sort of libertarian principles. And of course, Truss does have a core of supporters, libertarian, small state Thatcherites, on the backbenches, and I think it sounds as though she's going to be sort of leading that particular caucus in Parliament, which could be very difficult indeed for Rishi Sunak.